summer break, and their eldest daughter, the British guy.
Here we are. We're up at the Cape with Grandma and Grandpa, and Debbie and Lori, Gary and John, Sarah and I. And we're just gonna film some stuff, talking about old family stories. And here we go.
We're ghetto, baby.
It's gonna look like this.
Okay, say hello. Here's Mom, Lori,
Hello.
Roberta, Lon, and Debbie. Alright, just let's start talking about the family. First we can talk about Grandpa's family.
He was adopted.
I was
Talk about your family, like where they came from and how they met and all that kind of stuff.
Well, my parents met on the boat coming from Germany to this country. And my father went to Meriden, my mother went to Hartford to be with her aunt and uncle. And they met again through singing societies. That's how they got together.
So they met, I thought they were together like soon after they had met on the boat.
Well, no, my Uncle Martin was very protective of my mother. And
He was on the boat at the same time.
Yeah.
Ah.
yeah, that was in 1925. No, 23, I'm sorry. And yeah, my Uncle Martin and my mother and my father came on the same boat. But my father saw my mother. He had eyes for her. But then again, my father came to Meriden, and he couldn't work for a sponsor for a year, so he worked in Wallingford. And
You couldn't work for a sponsor for a year? What do you mean?
well, because people were taken advantage of, you know, like a slave labor type.
Oh, okay.
You know, paying, having people work and not giving them much money.
Well, tell Scott why you,
Well,
what you had to have a sponsor to come to the United States.
Right, right.
Unlike today.
You couldn't just come because I want to go to America. My understanding was you had to have a sponsor waiting for you that would make sure that you stayed the true and narrow, and you had to have a job.
lined up for you before you got here?
I believe so.
And I remember you telling me there was a story about he had to have so much money too.
In his pocket.
In the pocket on the boat, right?
Right, right.
How did that happen? What happened?
What happened?
Yeah.
He stole
he-
money.
No, the money wasn't really worth that much. When he came to this country, he gave it to one of the persons that worked on the boat. Because marks were, you could bring a bushel full of marks over, and it wasn't worth it that much in those days.
And didn't he buy cigarettes or something, and it put him under the limit that he needed or something?
Oh, I don't think he bought cigarettes on the boat.
That's what I heard.
Really?
I heard that he bought a pack of cigarettes would put him under the amount that he was supposed to have in his pocket.
Now, see,
He
that's,
asked Grandma to borrow some money.
that's new to me.
He borrowed money from somebody, maybe Mr. Huber, his sponsor, had to pass over probably 35 cents or something. I remember him telling me
Now,
that.
see, I never heard that.
All right, how did he get the sponsor? Did you know?
Mr. Huber went to my father's hometown, and that's how he met my father. And
Which was what?
Otisweier in Germany, and he asked my father if he would like to come to this country, and he said, of course I would. So, because he was raised by his grandparents. And so that's how he came.
And he didn't know his parents very well, right?
Well, he knew his mother. His father had come to this country. He wanted to bring my mother and his mother and my father over. And the parents forbid it.
They never married.
No.
No,
Grandpa told me he was a love child.
right.
But his father came over and then had another family over here, right?
He married here, but he never had a family as far as I know.
But he had a brother, like a half brother.
That was in Germany. He was
Oh, so he had a
stayed in
brother.
Germany.
Was it a half brother or a full brother? Eric, right?
Yeah, Eric. No, it would have been a full brother.
Same father.
Same father, same mother.
So Grandpa's grandfather impregnated his grandmother twice without marrying her. He wanted to marry her, but her family would not let them get married.
Was he very poor? And she had money?
But I don't know how many spots.
Was it a class thing?
No, I don't know the reason for this, but,
Maybe it was religious. Maybe it was religious.
Religious.
Like his, John's mother.
Grandpa was raised a Catholic.
Catholic.
Great grandpa.
Yeah.
Was raised Catholic.
and I don't know about my grandmother, whether she was Protestant or Catholic. I know my mother was Protestant.
What about grandma's side of the family?
Grandma's side?
Yeah.
Well, there were 4 children,
You
3
moved
girls
in
and a
Kansas,
boy, just
right,
like
you can't
we
do
have.
that, but-
And after the war, they really couldn't afford to have, you know, all these kids. And they had an opportunity to come to this country because my mother's mother had 3 sisters that came to America early in the 1900s.
I think you
And so they had the opportunity, so they came over here. My mother worked for her aunt and uncle. They had a boarding house. She was like doing maid work, you know. And my Uncle Martin, he didn't like this, he couldn't find a job, I don't think, and he moved to Brooklyn, New York.
Did you guys know them much growing up here? The family that came over? Because I don't remember ever hearing much about her
My
family.
Uncle Martin?
Or
Used to
her.
visit 'em.
You said there was 2 other sisters and a brother that came over?
No. There were 2, my grandmother's mother had 3 sisters that came over early.
Oh, okay.
And she married Joseph Hauser. And they were like a surrogate grandparents to me, because I didn't have any
They were in
grandparents.
Hartford. That was his mother's connection to coming over here. The Hartford group, the Hazers.
Mhm.
So Zeiser, the name Zeiser came from your grandmother, though, right?
Right.
And what was your grandfather's name?
My grandfather's
His
name?
his full name.
Yeah.
Joseph.
Which one?
It was
Grandpa got
Doninger, right?
Grandpa Zeiser's
Was
father.
it Doninger?
Yeah,
Doninger.
Joseph Doninger. Which I did research on Ancestry.com thanks to Debbie, and I found quite a bit on Joseph Doninger, but could never find when he died. Found his wife's name, Elsie.
Still alive.
Found that he ended up outside of Detroit, Michigan. He worked as a machinist, I believe, for one of the car companies. And he traveled back and forth to Germany a couple of times before he got married to this woman. Maybe that was one of the times trying to get his son, my grandfather, to come back over.
But that, you know, that's strange that you can't find his.
I can't find a
Date
death
of
on
death.
him. Maybe he died in Germany.
Isn't it?
No, I don't think so. No, he died
Before
here.
a certain date, they don't have, like, social security.
After 1940, you
Yeah.
can't find information on
After or before?
after. Couldn't find any social security death index from 1940 to what was it, 60 something?
Really?
There's a series that they haven't done all the work on as far as I understood. Something on the Ellis Island or Social Security Death Index that they don't have a certain period of years documented on the internet yet.
You
But
said
I can't find his death.
yeah.
So maybe he's still alive somewhere.
You had said that that Grandpa fought in World War I, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Fought for Kaiser.
Yeah.
Kaiser Wilhelm.
Fought for Germany.
My father.
Yes.
Yeah, and also my grandfather.
And your grandfather. That's right.
Yeah.
They fought.
No, he enlisted. I don't know. Maybe he was drafted. Probably. He turned 17 when he was going to the front. And then there was a gas attack, and he said, what was the famous saying? He couldn't wear a gas mask because he had a carbuncle on his temple.
Yeah.
It was too painful.
It was like a big zit.
So one of his comrades said,
Comrades.
Paul, he says, pee in your handkerchief and hold it over your mouth and run the other way, which is what he did.
And he just succumbed to it.
No, he ended up in a hospital.
Mustard gas.
Yeah.
A German hospital or like an enemy hospital?
No, German hospital.
I'll open it. Here, I'll pause quick. So,
Uniform? He never brought a uniform.
No, my father?
Yeah,
yeah.
he never got a medal.
So, yeah, did he never got anything for his service? He was just injured and never available to go
Yeah.
back.
What's that knife thing you have? With a deer foot or something? Isn't that shrapnel?
No, that's
Oh,
for
yeah.
my grandfather.
That's
my
right. He had the
grandfather.
shrapnel
That's my
knife.
grandfather.
Or it was a letter opener, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, how did he was hurt in the war?
Yeah, he was wounded. Shrapnel, you know. And what they took out of him, he kept and made a letter opener out of it.
All right.
Okay.
Talk about like growing up with your family here in Connecticut.
My family?
Yeah.
Well, there's not much to tell. We lived, prior to moving over the barber shop, we lived across the street in one of the apartments for, I don't recall how long it was, but when Mr. Huber moved down to Center Street, which is a couple of streets over, no, one street over from East Main, then my parents lived upstairs. And that's where I grew up.
Didn't you grow up in the lake too?
Well, that was in the summer. My father and Mr. Huber had a house built over there.
Lake Besic in Middlefield?
Lake
Middletown. Middlefield?
Middlefield, yeah.
Still have it.
Well, no, it's still there,
It's still there.
but we don't own it.
No, I know that.
Yeah, that was built in the early 30s for $600.
And is that the same house that you guys lived in later?
Yeah.
Yeah. And my father always said with copper screened in porch also.
How did he get into being a barber?
That's what he started in Germany after he got out of the war. He became an apprentice. And that's where Mr. Huber met him, in that barber shop.
Oh. So whose barbershop was it that he started at here?
Here?
Yeah.
Well, he couldn't work for Mr. Huber, as I said.
Yeah.
So he worked for a person in Wallingford by the name of McGuire. And,
An Irish barber?
yeah, and one of his sons.
All these barbers that aren't Italian.
Well, yeah, I know. Yeah, we were in minority.
Yeah.
And one of his sons, I think, the McGuire son, became a senator.
Really?
Yeah. And then after a year, he was able to go back with Mr. Huber.
Is that was it Mr. Huber's barbershop on
Yeah.
East Main Street?
Yeah, yeah.
And then he took over for it?
Yeah, when Mr. Huber retired to Florida, my father, I don't know how the arrangements were, but he would send him a check like every quarter for like payment towards owning the barber shop.
Sounds like indentured servant.
But he was good. Well, he was good to my father.
Yeah, except Mr. Huber told Grandpa Zeiser what? That you can never look up your father.
That was because
Oh,
of the
really?
grandparent. That's because of my father's grandparents. They told on one condition: we don't want you to let Paul look up his father when he comes
The
to America.
people that raised him.
Yeah.
His mother's
Yeah.
parents.
Well,
Didn't want him associated with his father.
right, which is
very
it's
sad.
terrible when you think about it.
Sad.
Yeah.
It's sad.
My father used to say if he got in trouble with one grandparent, he'd go to the other.
Yeah.
What did you do growing up? You were into swimming, right?
Oh, that was from Lake Besic.
Like basic, yeah, I remember that.
Because you were swimming, that's why you got everybody else got into swimming?
Well, I don't know. I don't think so. I think Grandma pushed the girls into swimming, right?
I remember Judy Schiffer
Judy
swam, and that's
Schiffer,
how we
yes.
kinda got into
Yeah,
it.
Girl
one of
up
our
the
neighbors.
street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you went in the military?
Well, let's see. I graduated. I was 18.
You enlisted?
Yeah.
And that was right towards the end of World War II, right?
Yeah, it was. Of course, in those days,
Yeah, you
the
would've been-
patriotic thing was to enlist.
Yeah.
But Grandpa says, or my father then said, no, you wait till you get your high school diploma, then you can do what you want. And the day after we graduated, a friend of mine and I, we went down to New Haven and enlisted.
Did you have to go to basic training right away? Or did you get the
No.
whole summer?
What year was that, Dad?
That would have been 45, right?
45.
Yeah.
We went down,
So that was
Twin
after
list.
VE.
VE Day.
So it was after. So Japan was still going, but Europe was
Right,
done.
right. But we went down to enlist, and then they had us come back. And after saying goodbye to all our friends, we went to New Haven. They said, well, we can't take you now, so we went back home. They called us again. We said goodbyes, went down there, they said, well, we can't take you yet, we don't know where to send you. Because they were shutting down basic training bases, you know. So the third time they called us, which was September 11th, 1945, they took us and we went to Bainbridge, Maryland.
Oh, you didn't? I think you went to Texas.
No, that was after. From Bainbridge, we went to San Diego, and from San Diego to Texas.
How long were you in?
3 years, 2 months, and 23 days.
What was your number?
207-7677.
never forgot it.
What did you do in the military? What was your job?
I was a yeoman.
What does that mean? You were in the Navy, so
Yeah.
what's a yeoman?
A yeoman is, well, actually, I qualified to either be a cook or a signalman. And they sent me to yeoman
Guys holding
school. Yeah. They sent me to yeoman school because there was a need for it.
I don't know
Why
what
did you
that
pick the
is.
Navy?
Why?
He
Yeah.
likes water.
Because you like the water?
I
Like
don't know.
planes.
Huh?
Why not the Air Force? You
I
like
don't
the
know.
little
To
plane.
this day, I wish I had. Probably
Pick the Air
would never
Force?
have made it.
Yeah.
But I was at a naval air station, so I did get to see planes.
What was your base pay?
Oh, God, you have to ask me that?
Questions?
That I don't remember. It wasn't much. Except I had $600 saved up when I came home. And I said to my father, hey, Dad, I have this money. I think I'm going to buy a motorcycle.
Oh.
His reply was, oh, yeah? Well, if you buy one, your suitcases will be packed on front porch. So
Did
I
you buy
got
it?
my motorcycle. Huh?
You had a motorcycle. That was later?
Yeah, that was later on.
The BMW?
Yeah, and because it was German,
Yeah.
that must so that's a good one.
Was that an expensive motorcycle, or was the BMW not an expensive motorcycle?
Well, they're not as expensive as today, of course, but it was a '65 BMW R500.
Oh, it was the 60s?
Huh?
I thought it was a 50s motorcycle.
No, R50 is the model.
No, but you said it was a 65?
Yeah,
model?
65.
That's later than I thought
Year,
it was.
yeah. I bought it for, well, this kid that used to come in the shop had it, and I asked him if he ever decides to sell it. He said, oh, I don't know, I have so many people who want to buy this. And then one day he comes, he said, you still want to buy this? I said, yeah, I'll meet you up on Research Parkway tonight. So I told your grandmother. And so I went out there and I tried it, and I came back, and Grandma says, did you buy it? I says, well, no, he wants $650 for it, and I want to pay him $600. She says, do you want the motorcycle? I said, yeah. Well, you better buy it. So I did.
Wow, that was cheap.
I
And
can't
then how
believe
many
Grandma
years-
supported you buying a motorcycle.
No, she helped me buy my first car. And I felt so indebted I married her.
All right, can we talk about Grandma's family?
Of course.
Parents.
About my parents?
What was your mother's name?
Nellie,
Nellie, and your father was Frank.
Frank.
And I don't know, talk about your mom's family, where they came from, that kind of thing.
Oh, God, you're gonna confuse me now.
That's okay. You guys can all help.
Your
You
daughter's
want me to help?
Yeah, help.
I
Anybody can chime
Yeah,
in.
that's-
Debbie's been doing a lot
I
of
did the research
genealogy.
on it.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see, her Nellie Godwin's mother's name was Lisa Josephina Anderson, Anala. She came from Finland. Father's name was Carl or Charles Anderson. No, her husband's name was Carl Anderson, came from Sweden. His father was Charles or Carl, and he came over here too, but I can't find, I don't think they came over together.
Yeah, I looked at that, I said, Carol moved
And
in.
I don't know how they must have met in New York City because they lived in New York City. Because Grandma Godwin was born in New York City in 1903.
That I remember.
And great Grandpa Anderson's father, Charles, I don't know how he ended up in Washington, Connecticut, but he built a house up there in 1900. And that's where.
And that's the house we've been to for family
Yeah.
reunions and stuff.
I don't know how he ended up there, but
Yeah, Grandma spent a lot of time up there, didn't he?
And that was in Washington, Connecticut.
Washington Depot.
Washington Depot.
Which is the poorer section of it.
yeah, not now.
So when, you don't know when they moved to Connecticut? She was born in New York.
I
but-
looked up, let's see, there's a 1910 census, so they were there in 1910. 1900 census, I can't find them at anywhere, but great-grandma came over in like 1896. She was born in 1875. And I don't know when her husband came over either.
She was a little woman.
Yeah.
What was her name again?
Josephine, Lisa,
L-I-I-S-A.
Lisa
Josephina.
Josephine Anola. She
Anola.
married
Anola.
Anderson, but she was
And
little.
she had like 8 brothers
Yeah, there's like a
and
million
sisters,
kids, right?
and they all came to this country.
Wow.
From Finland.
but then she had a lot of kids, right? Because
Uh,
Grandma Godwin had a few brothers and sisters, right?
like 5?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Well, but her brother Matty, who lived in Wisconsin, built this round stone barn, which is on the National Registry of Historic Places. He and his sons built it from all the rocks on their own land. A round barn and a little round milk house. And it's in Hurley, Wisconsin.
That's right, I think.
And
Mom
actually,
showed me a
I've-
picture of that recently.
I've been in touch with Maddie's son's son, Lauren Anola, who lives in California. So he's probably like mom and dad's age.
What nationality was Anna?
Fin-
The Finnish?
Finnish.
Where's the Swedish come in?
Great grandma's husband. And I think they had to have met in New York City.
And he was Anderson?
Yeah.
2 S's.
Is that how they always spelled it, or did they change it?
Over there they spelled it like that, and I think they changed it. They changed it when they come here. Which means it's the son of Anders.
Yeah.
Because the great grandpa's father's name was Anders Larson. So that's where you get the Anders son
Anders' son.
from.
That's something.
Anderson.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
They didn't
Well,
carry a
Scandinavian.
surname like that.
And when you're trying to
Scandinavians do
research those names, it's like there's a million of them.
Like Smith?
Yeah.
Huh? Like Smith?
Yeah. But I was lucky to find a lot of stuff.
And talk about your father, Frank Godwin, and his family.
My father?
Yeah.
Well, he was very poor, I know that. He worked hard and
He was born in
born
New Jersey.
New Jersey, yeah.
1903.
Down what town? I think it
Wasn't his
was.
family
The
from
same
Delaware or
same place
something?
where Bill Pendola was born, right?
He grew up in
Was it Newark?
no,
Vineland?
Vineland.
Yeah.
But we think his father came from Delaware.
Yeah.
And his father was full-blooded American Indian,
We don't know.
right?
We don't know.
That's what I heard.
We were always told
We were
that.
told he was Cherokee.
Possibly. Yeah.
So
But
you would
there's-
think he probably came up from the
Delaware.
Carolinas,
Good.
because the Carolinas is mostly where the Cherokee were, right?
Yeah.
Until they were moved across to Oklahoma.
Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, they were all in that area. Think of Appalachian area.
I have a question.
Yeah, where we were in.
Did he come right to Connecticut? Or
In
did he
Carolina,
meet
remember we
somewhere
stopped at that
New
Cherokee?
Jersey,
Cherokee
That-
place.
New Jersey,
that,
and then up to
that,
Connecticut.
Because in my history class, we learned that a lot of young Cherokee men were sent to like New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut for school,
Right.
and then
To take the wild out of them, right?
But there was an Indian school in Washington or Roxbury, one of those towns in
Okay.
Connecticut.
Very, I think.
and they said they kind of dismantled the school and sent them back because they were
Well,
kind of mixing
Grandpa
with the
didn't-
women around the area.
Grandpa didn't get to finish school because they were so poor, he had to work.
You gotta work, right?
Yeah.
What about his mother?
Your grandmother died very young.
I don't know anything about her.
You don't remember Grandpa's mother too much, right?
What was her
You
name?
always said she was a homely woman,
Did she die the year Mom was born, maybe? 1930?
possibly.
I have stuff at home, but I can't remember.
We heard her name was Margaret Earl,
Yeah, I have a picture of her.
That's where the
and she married, what was Grandpa's father's first name? Wasn't Frank.
No, not Henry.
It might have been Henry. Harry.
Yes, Harry.
Harry.
Harry Godwin?
Godwin was my great-grandfather who we never knew, who was Native American. To
You
our
see his
knowledge.
picture,
So
it
he
looks
was
like
probably
it.
given that name by somebody.
That was an excellent movie.
You would think. I mean, he had to pick up the name Godwin somewhere.
Well, I found him in the census in New Jersey.
But you know, obviously
Before he was
Godwin is
married.
not a Native American name.
That's an English
It's an English name, so he was given that name.
Possibly, yeah. We don't know.
I know.
What's the story about who got found on the...
Margaret
What?
Earl.
Okay.
What about Margaret Earl?
We were told that Margaret Earl, my great-grandmother, who I never knew, was found somewhere in the Midwest, huddled up to the frozen body of a man that was like traveling cross-country, like wagon train type of thing. Brought back to the East Coast.
So that wasn't necessarily her name either.
Right.
How
Dead end.
how old was she?
3.
So a lot of dead ends on that side of
Yeah.
the family.
There's dead ends on both sides of the family.
Now, how old was Mom's grandmother when she died?
50, 51, maybe.
No,
Great-grandma?
no, I'm talking about great grandma
She
Anderson.
was, I
Oh,
was,
she
she
was-
was
She's from Finland.
1962.
She died.
Yeah, I'm talking about how old was she? I
Yeah,
see.
in the 60s, because I remember.
She was
She'd be
probably
like 80, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was
I
in her
would say,
80s.
80
yeah.
something.
That whole side of the family, I'm telling you,
They lived long,
late
right?
80s,
Lived long.
Yeah.
90s.
The
Well,
Scandinavian.
a lot of them drank though, right? So
No, this is back in
Not
Finland.
the girls, the women.
yeah.
Back in Finland.
Now, the grandma's, I mean, your grandmother's uncles, 2 of them died young because of,
Pickled.
but Bill, he was the oldest, right? He lasted like 98.
Yeah.
Drunk and stuff like,
Well, he was preserved.
Was it
He
Bill,
was preserved.
Nellie,
yeah. And some of the
Oscar.
sons-
These are
No.
your
Some of
mom's
the
brothers and
sons drank.
sisters.
Martin's the youngest.
Martin's the youngest.
Yeah,
And then
they were
Hilda.
all drinkers, they weren't
Hilda's older
terribly.
than Grandma.
No, Hilda
Oh,
was
younger?
younger.
Yeah.
But she lived longer than Grandma. She died like at 95, Hilda. And your mother was 93.
Yeah.
The Godwins died young. The Andersons lived long.
Now, what does that tell you?
I don't know what it tells you.
It
Well, I
pays
fired
to
Anderson.
drink and be pickled. Uncle Martin Anderson, who was Grandma Godwin's brother,
Yeah,
drank basically his whole life.
yeah.
We went to a family reunion. Do you remember that up in
I do.
Washington?
We met at that little river.
He
Yeah.
had been sober for like 6 months. What, he dropped dead 6 months later?
Christmas Day.
Oh,
He was only a six.
She used to go down into the river where she gets the water
Yep.
for everything, and it'd go way far up there and bring a bucket of water.
Yeah, she had there was an outhouse at her house.
An
Great-grandma.
outhouse.
No indoor.
Yeah, they
We had
got
an outhouse
plumbing
when
very
we
late.
were young. We
Yeah,
had
there
an
was an
outhouse.
outhouse up in
Yeah,
there.
Middletown, yeah.
I don't know. When Great Grandma was there, there was never indoor plumbing when she lived there.
Well,
There ended up being something. There had to have.
your mother's father and mother put a well in for Grandma, so she would,
Yeah.
great
Yeah, but
grandma.
not a toilet.
There was a thing in the sink.
Well, I don't know.
But
But
there
they
was an
did-
outhouse up and
Yeah,
back.
when you were young and stayed there, you had to go to the outhouse
Yeah,
up at Grandma
up at her house.
Anderson's. Yeah,
Anderson's, yeah.
Do they have a men's and a women's, or is it just one?
No, one holer.
And they used to put
That's
the
got to be a
Sears
fun walk in the
catalog
winter.
there.
If they put the Sears catalog in the
Sears catalog.
outhouse.
You know, we have movies of your mother and Debbie and the little wash tub out in the
Yeah.
back,
Yeah.
running around in their diapers.
Great Grandma Anderson, I can hear her saying Yumpin' Yiminy, and
yeah.
Yam and Yelly.
Yam and Yelly, that was
You couldn't
what
say
she said.
J's. I guess the Finnish people don't pronounce J.
Yam and Yelly.
What?
She said jumping jelly.
It's
Yumpin'
Yumpin'
Yiminy.
jelly.
Yelly, I said.
So how did your parents meet, Grandma?
Oh, me?
Do you know how your mother
Do you know
and
how
father
they met, or
each
does
other?
anyone know how they met?
Well, he was farming up in Washington. Right?
Yeah, up in farm.
That's
Or-
right, yeah. He was working on a farm.
They could have met at some dance. or
Were they
something.
square dancing or something?
No.
No, that's square dancing.
And
But
that's
your
when,
grandmother, I don't think, wanted Grandma to go with Grandpa. I thought I heard that.
now was Grandma,
Because he was a drinker.
Not your
Grandpa.
father. No, I'm
No,
talking about
no,
your
great
Josephine
grandfather.
Anderson. I thought didn't want Nellie to go with Frank.
now was she a student as a nurse when they met, or was that?
No,
Must have
she
been.
had to be young, no.
You know,
Because when she went to nursing school at Yale New Haven.
Grace New Haven.
Yeah.
So they met when they were in Washington now.
yeah, right.
So she probably went to
So they met in Washington?
somewhere up there.
Washington
Roxbury.
area, yeah, Roxbury, Washington area.
Which I think it's so strange because my father's family was like the next town over. Right? And
Who's your father?
over here.
Oh,
Gary.
don't mind me.
His family in Bridgewater.
John's kicking my butt.
That's like next town over, right? Like
No,
two towns
a
maybe?
little bit over ways.
I'll pause for Welcome back!
Huh?
Mom had to take a pee break. Okay, so we're talking about how they met, your grandma's mother and father, and you guys weren't too sure, right?
We don't know.
No.
They where did they live when they got married?
New Haven.
They lived in New Haven first,
Yeah, because I found it on the census.
and went to Middletown much later.
Yeah, Frank and your grandmother and her brother were born in New Haven. She was the first baby born at Grace Hospital in 1930.
You were the New Year's baby.
They didn't have presents back then, no.
No presents.
I'll tell the story. Some little Italian lady
Yeah.
claimed that
Claimed
hers
it was hers.
child was born before, after 12. That woman
No.
got a
Those Italians.
bank, a bank with $5.
Wow.
And Grandma got a hot water bottle. $5?
$5.
Yeah. Well, she needed it anyway.
So so you guys, you were born. You're older than Frank, or is he older than you? He's older than you, right? So you had
Close together.
one brother, Frank. How old? How much older is he?
Oh, how old is he?
Frank just turned
2 years
81
maybe?
in May.
That was the one after.
About a year and a half.
This guy.
Well, no. Well,
you
Grandma's
get
gonna be
bigger.
80,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so yeah, about a year and a half, something
You
like that.
I know you've told me lots of stories of how horrible your brother was to you growing up.
Oh, you can say that again. He was a devil. He was a devil.
Oh,
And
we
he
wanna
looked-
keep this-
and then when he was in church, he was like this.
Well, he was an altar boy.
Oh, he was, oh, yes. And then you go by and, and you go, yeah! I'm telling you, he was a devil. He was still a devil, probably.
What else did he do to you, Mom? Didn't he used to hide under your
Oh,
bed?
always.
And
Yeah.
do what? Tell Scott.
Put under the bed, that's all.
He would hide under the bed and
Yeah,
wait
so,
till you
yeah.
almost fell asleep
Sleep and
and
then
then
go to
take a
sleep.
wooden spoon and go.
Whack.
Across the bed spring,
He was devil.
because they didn't have
He was
box
a big
springs.
man who does his banking and all. And here he is today.
And he was a troublemaker growing up.
Oh, but I never.
But did he get in
I
trouble
never
with your
killed-
parents?
Said anything about it. I
Really?
never hurt.
So he didn't get in trouble much with your parents?
These guys didn't help.
You know, my father gave
It's
me
funny
hell.
that these
Yeah.
guys stayed right there.
Who was the good child?
My good child.
Who was the good child? You were the good
He
one?
was the tail of the
Yeah.
tape, and you did that.
I
was
thought
like,
you said that
oh,
Uncle
yeah.
Frank,
when I
when
saw
Grandma
it
and Grandpa
after
would
school,
go
I
out,
go,
would grab a knife and threaten
Oh.
to kill you.
That's
I'm gonna
right.
kill
I
you,
forgot
Roberta.
that.
Tell Scott.
He was gonna kill me. Why, I don't know.
And I know when he came over recently to, I think it was last year, to Eric's graduation party, he was entertaining everyone with his stories of torturing frogs by blowing them up and shooting them
I've
with
heard
a BB
that.
gun. Yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
here's a question we had last week, we were talking about it.
Oh,
Where did your
that's
brother
my
go
wife,
to
Sarah.
school?
Do you know where Uncle Frank went to banking school? Did he go to Brown?
Meredith, Middletown.
No, but yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
went
went
to
to
bank in
Brown.
Middletown. He went to Brown.
Big time.
Went to Brown in Providence.
Big time
Yeah.
and guy with
Did his
money.
family move
Oh,
to
has he got
Providence?
money now?
No,
What?
no.
When did he go then? Did he go?
It wasn't a full,
No,
it
he,
was like a banking,
Classes, because he started as a teller and ended up
Yeah,
as the
he
president.
ended up president of the gang of the.
There's a Liberty Bank.
Middletown
Liberty
Savings
Bank.
Bank,
Middletown.
which turned into Liberty Bank.
So let's talk about you two. How did you two meet?
Oh,
Oh, boy.
oh dear.
Tell her. Did you tell
You
her?
tell, Mom. You always tell the
No,
story.
I
You
didn't.
tell.
You tell. No, I want you to tell because I'm going to laugh.
So how did you meet?
My favorite story was we met through bowling,
Bowling.
and I hated bowling ever.
Tell her that.
I thought,
No,
I thought you met through the Grange or
Well,
something.
this
Well,
is a
the
Grange
Grange, yeah.
bowling league.
Okay.
Grange.
Okay,
I'm
I
still
was
Grange.
just freshly out of the service. I got out the day before my 21st birthday, it was called, the minority cruise. And being home for a while, my father, who bowled for the Grange, said, why don't you come with me tonight and just keep score, get out of the house for a while. So I went there, and I was keeping score, and I looked over several alleys, and I saw this
And then he tried to
plaid,
score.
plaid skirt with bobby socks, this attractive looking
All this
girl.
adorable clothing.
What? This is 1948,
No, 49.
49.
And we met again at the Grange banquet.
And I was at Granger, and I still am today.
But she came to the banquet with a guy I knew from Lake Beeson. And
no, you're all right.
she went with a guy, she went with this guy and another girl, but she came home with me. I mean, I took her home because she said, oh,
This
is he a nice guy?
Is this your first date?
Well, no, I just took her home. That was
Oh.
an official date.
Oh, okay.
Those are the days that
So,
Oh, listen to that.
Go outside, Sarah, with your phone. Go outside with your phone. So, what was your first date then?
I'm trying to think, what did we do the first time?
Our first day, oh, I can't think now. There was something with the dance, we went to a dance or something.
You go square dancing or something?
No, we
Yeah.
danced at the Grange. No, my
Grange.
father danced with you first. at
Yes,
the
and
Grange-
then
Grange banquet.
he liked the looks of him, and then he did something about him. He liked him.
He liked
Something
who?
like that. My cousin.
No, Grandpa Zeiser liked the looks of you
Yeah, right.
and said, I want you to meet my son. Isn't that
That's the way it was, yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Grandpa was shy.
Yeah, pencil.
So how long did you date before you got engaged?
Well, let's see, I still have the card
Not
from the
long.
Grange
I
banquet,
was born the next week.
May 5th, 1949.
And who helped to pay for you?
Now,
your
wait a
car?
minute, we already discussed that.
No, we haven't on film.
What?
That was before I started filming. You can see, you're gonna have to talk
Oh,
about
well, she helped me buy my first car. So.
it. How, this is before you were engaged?
Oh, Everton.
Huh?
Before you were engaged, she helped you buy your first car?
No, I don't know if it was before or not.
Foolish. You had to have been engaged.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, I
Why
don't
would
think.
yeah, I
Grandma?
guess
Why would
so.
Grandma give you money if she didn't have a ring on her
Because she
finger?
was desperate. No, I'm just kidding.
Lori, she gave you money for what?
A car.
She helped me buy my first car.
Where were you working,
Were
Mom?
you dating?
Yeah, of course.
Do you remember where you were working?
State hospital.
That's
You
radical.
worked up the state hospital as a secretary or
My
something?
mother was there with us,
Right.
and I worked with her too with the.
Yeah, but you were a secretary at the state.
You
were a
worked,
secretary.
you
Is this
worked
in
for a
Newington?
guy that had a
No,
boat
Middle-
company.
Middletown.
CVH.
She worked
Yeah.
for a guy that had boats.
They were guys
Nora,
from,
Bassett boat?
No.
in school that, remember?
No,
it was
you're
a
going back.
No, you're talking about the guys that were
Roberts.
during the war, and then
No,
they
that's,
were doing that,
Oh, I put this down.
and then they.
Lon, are you
What?
are you telling me that you were just dating
No, I think they ordered
No.
it.
And Roberta gave you money for a car?
They had to have been engaged.
I needed help buying a car because I was very poor.
Why didn't your parents help you?
Hey,
Huh?
Lon,
What?
That is
Nice
so
job.
radical, that is a
Oh,
great
what do
job.
you mean? My
Nice
father,
Dad,
my father
I
gave
think
me
you should take
material.
note, Dad.
Cars,
I'm talking about me. You helped me buy my first car.
yes, of
I
course.
paid for
What
a
kind of car was
Honda.
it? Was it a nice car?
It was a '38 Ford
See?
Business Coupe.
Why didn't you
See?
say
So you
that?
got it used. It's a 10-year-old car?
Lon, did you think about breaking up with her after that?
Ah,
No,
You bought a 10-year-old car?
Driving off into the sunset.
yeah.
Was that common back then to buy like a 10-year-old
Of
car
course.
like that?
What'd you pay for it?
$350.
Wow, what
Really?
color was it?
It was a gray Ford Business Coupe.
That's
And
a
I bought
lot.
it from Ollie Yale, who I worked with his father before I went into service. He had a grocery store, and I used to
That's a cool store.
deliver
Across from the barber shop.
groceries. And Ollie had this car, and I wanted it, but it burned more oil than it burned gas. So when I used to go to Clinton to work as an apprentice, I would stop over at her father's gas station that he ran. And in those days, when they put oil in the car, they put the cans in a rack, and every little bit of oil that was left would drip down into, and you would accumulate some oil. So Grandpa would give me the oil to put in the Ford, because it burned so much oil. So he knew a guy that put a rebuilt engine in for me. In fact, one of our first dates, we went up to Howe Caverns. Remember that?
yeah, that's right.
And it was good on gas, but I had a case of oil in the back of the car. It burned so much.
How much was gas a gallon back then?
Oh, God. Let's see. 10 gallons for $1.
Like 10 cents a gallon?
Yeah.
Wow. So how did you guys get engaged?
How did we get engaged?
Yeah, would you do anything? Did you go anywhere?
Yes, we went to the Chinese Hitching Post, which is no longer there on Route 15.
Well, what was it? What is that?
I'm trying to think.
Chinese hitching post.
Hitching Post.
Wasn't it?
That was the
We
name.
were, it was there when we used to go up.
Are they Chinese, like?
It's a Chinese
Cowboys or
restaurant.
something?
Restaurant, Chinese.
Oh,
restaurant.
that's the name of a
That was the
restaurant?
name of the
Yeah.
I thought it was like a pole.
No.
You went to this pole on the side of the road.
Oh, can we go back?
Now
a
make
little
it
bit?
real romantic, huh?
Can we go back just for a minute?
Yeah, go back.
Here we go.
All right, now, I think of a date as maybe like a movie and dinner. You just said you went on a date to Howe Caverns?
That was one of the dates.
Oh, wait a minute,
What
that's-
is that?
That's
What
in New
state is
York,
that?
right?
What's wrong with that?
That was
No,
just a day trip.
Yeah, what state is
What
that?
state
New
is it?
York.
Oh, New York.
That was a date?
Well,
Why not?
He had to
Was
wait.
it a
Did you
sleep?
sleep over?
Was it a sleepover
No.
date?
My father killed me.
Did you tent or anything?
no, it's a day trip.
Oh, okay, nice day, just took a trip, picnic.
Did people back then think of anything, I mean, were you just thinking of a cave that day? Or going all day like that?
Cave all day.
I mean,
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean,
just one of
was
our
there any
dates.
sense of,
Cut out.
romantic?
Well, it was romantic. We got away and saw something.
Did you
Yeah.
hold hands that day?
of course they did.
Excuse me.
All right, back
Hello.
back to
Answer
the.
question.
Back to
Leave him
history.
alone.
Foreigners not
I
allowed.
didn't say anything.
Mom, you were laughing. Did you hold hands that
So
day?
you're being engaged. If this,
Okay.
what was it?
I think they did more
It was
than
like Chinese or was like a tiki place or something?
No, Chinese food. But
Yeah.
they call it the
Talking way
Chinese
back.
Hitching Post. Is the name of the restaurant.
Yeah.
It would be. let's
How
see,
did you do it?
You don't want to hear?
On Route 15, I'm trying to tell you the approximate location. You know where the
The
bars
building's still there?
Yeah, you know where you just go up this little incline and turn in where Bob's is up there? It would have been on the left-hand side.
Oh, up that far.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how did you do it?
How did I, well, at
Was
first I asked her father and mother's permission.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a
So
national
then-
thing
Yeah.
in those days.
So
I did.
after-
I asked her mother's permission.
After we had our dinner, we came out and I proposed to her.
In the outside?
Yeah, in the car.
And she said yes?
No. She said no at first. No, she didn't.
So how much later did you get married?
We married in April of 1950.
So like, was it like less than a year?
51.
No, you were born in 51. No, 52, yeah, okay.
So 51.
51, I'm sorry. Yeah. That's ancient history.
Where did you get married?
Holy Trinity
Holy
in
Trinity
Middletown.
Yeah. Was it a big wedding? Tell us about your wedding.
Did you hold hands?
It wasn't a huge one.
Oh, I would
It was a
say
nice-
good
yeah,
size
it was a
wedding.
nice, yeah, but it wasn't.
And
like
we
the
had our
Italians or
reception
anything,
at
these
the
are-
Commodore McDonough Inn, which was like a restaurant and a facility.
That's the reception, you said?
Yeah.
How many people came to your wedding, do you know?
Oh God, must have been 150.
Yeah.
Something
That's
like
pretty
that.
good.
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Because my father had a lot of friends and we worked and all, you know,
Yeah.
like that.
In fact, the day we married, my mother's uncle, the one that she went to live with when she came to this country,
Yeah.
he had died.
The same day?
Well, no, he had died, but the funeral was that day. So they went to the funeral first, and then some of the relatives came down later.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, it is.
So how?
She was born before the day before our first anniversary.
Oh wow.
So sometimes when I
So you
when
played
I
it
think-
legally.
When they ask me how old Debbie is, I have to think. So I don't get a bass
Was it
backwards.
the cart? Was it the cart or the horse?
Yeah.
No, he's a good.
No, we didn't have to sweat it out. I mean, it wasn't less than 9 months. It was just less than a year.
What did you do for a honeymoon? Did you do anything?
We went to Florida to visit my godmother,
Yeah.
Mrs. Huber.
Oh yeah.
The second Mrs. Huber. as
Where-
my
where in
father
Florida?
used to say, huh?
Where in Florida?
St. Petersburg.
Did you go to the beach?
Yeah.
What'd
Don't
you-
ask me the name of the beach.
Was that the West Coast, right?
Indian Rocks, Lon?
Huh?
Was it called Indian Rocks?
I don't recall, but
St. Pete Beach, Big Sur,
Go to Clearwater?
Yeah, it's right next
We-
to St.
we
Petersburg,
went
right
to-
next to Clearwater.
right next to Clearwater.
Tampa.
where was one of the? We
Florida.
stopped at Cypress Gardens
Cool.
Oh yeah.
and saw
Wikiwachi.
the you know the show, the boat show with pulling girls on the skis.
Nice.
I don't remember where you were.
And we visited my. In fact, still have the pictures of our honeymoon in coffee desk.
Oh.
Are they in slides?
No, these are.
No.
I thought you
black
went
and
to
white
Bermuda.
photos.
Was that another trip?
Pardon me?
That was
I thought you
their
went to
anniversary.
Yeah, that was what our dear
25th.
children sent us on our 25th.
Yeah. That was a big surprise.
And Sue Grisey she worked
Yeah.
at the travel agency, right?
Sue Grisey was the travel agent, yeah,
Really?
And it was the Reefs where we stayed, the Reefs.
that was
Is
nice.
that there?
And years
Yeah.
later,
Yeah, it is.
is the Reefs, that never changed to the Mermaid Beach Club? No,
No.
the Reefs.
So and
All of you guys went
so when you guys got married, you moved to where? You moved to the lake.
Like these.
You lived there for
Which wasn't winterized.
no. So it was very cold.
And as Sue, oh yeah. In fact, Grandma was
Holy mackerel.
carrying water from our next door neighbor's house, who had a well and was winterized too.
The ice
And,
skate.
she carried water while she was carrying Debbie.
Yep.
And then one
And
of
you didn't have
Grandpa
fall down.
and what the station that Grandpa rented was owned by Carl Ruberman, and they had a place in Florida, and they needed somebody to stay in their house for the winter and take care of the collie, right?
Mhm.
So we were fortunate to stay there for the winter and just pay our utilities
Just like-
Where was this?
on
like-
Peters Lane in Middletown. Middletown.
Yeah, like basically.
Just did that for one winter.
Yeah, just one winter. And then that following spring, we put half a cellar in and a furnace and heat and had a well done.
So then so Debbie was born in 51.
Yeah.
52.
Yeah, let's get that straight.
And
And your mother was born in 54.
and you still lived there when she was
What
born,
about
right?
Yeah.
her?
Yeah, you said I was born in '54.
Yeah.
So when did you guys
That's a good
move
year.
to Valley View Drive? Married.
1957.
So Marty was not born yet.
No.
That was nice to have the whole let.
Oh, that was such a big house then, right?
Yeah.
How much did you pay for your house?
Our
How much
house,
was it?
18.5.
Brand new, or was somebody living in it
No,
first?
it was built.
It was built
It was built. Was there?
right near the water.
Was it on top of like? Did they knock down the whole area? It was like a big development all at once.
It was previously a farm.
So it was all
Farm
all
area.
new houses around.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that old farmhouse is still there.
You want-
Oh, the one that Bob
The one where
family.
you first drive up, you take a left, it's right here.
That
Across
green,
from where that barn is.
that green, big two-story
It's
house.
like a two-family house.
Oh.
now.
If you were to drive, you know.
I was
go up
thinking
Valley-
that Lisa's old boyfriend Bob's big
No, no, no.
farmhouse over there.
No.
No, no. No, that was up on Preston.
So did they were the streets there, or they built them? They were new.
No, they were new.
But and the house is only a couple blocks over from your parents' house.
Right, two street,
Yeah.
well,
Was
yeah.
were they in that house already when you got the place on Valley View
Were
Drive?
they there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they built that house in 1948. When I left for the service, we lived over the barber shop, and when I came home, they lived on Maple Avenue.
Oh.
It was being built in 48. In 1950, now wait a minute, now, let me get this straight. No, it was built in 49, because that following year, I helped put the grass in the front yard. I do that for my father when
Had a big front yard too.
yeah. That's where I found that arrowhead,
You did?
yeah, the one with the broken
Oh.
point on it,
Can you tell some good stories about your kids growing up or anything? Do you guys have anything?
yeah. Oh, it was hell.
My brothers would be good. I'll tell you, he was a devil.
You're talking about,
Yeah, but
But
I
I was
was
so boringly perfect.
My brother was a devil.
no.
What was it like growing up, Mom?
But I can't help it.
What was it like growing up
In
being
there.
the middle child,
Oh,
Yes.
jeez, here we go.
being the second daughter,
Yeah.
before the only son, and then the baby at the end? I don't know.
Aw.
Debbie's baby book, all filled out, just like yours, Scott.
Yeah.
Second child, oh geez. Oh well, I understand.
What was it like for you?
What the third child
Huh?
baby?
What was it like for you then?
Marty?
Alright, yours is probably better. than
You didn't notice all the attention that Lori didn't get?
Little
Not
patent
when you're
leathers,
little.
the patent leathers with little dresses, twirling around the house. Come on. All the adults sitting going, oh.
Didn't Debbie get like 2 birthdays, you said? Because she always got a present on the October birthdays because everybody's birthday.
Yeah, I was
is
left
in-
out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because all the other kids
What
were
about
born in
January
October.
1st? Wasn't there something to do
Oh.
with that also?
No,
I thought that was
we're
something.
beyond that.
So tell us some more, some stuff about.
I remember on my 8th birthday being walked out to the front of the Marion Wallingford Hospital and seeing my mother, after giving birth to Lisa, waving out the window. And everybody saying, "Isn't that nice? You have a sister for a birthday present." And I thought, big goddamn.
Do you remember Marty being born?
Yes.
Do you remember them both being born? Do you remember Mom being born?
No.
No.
I remember Lisa, because I was like 10 years older than her.
Yeah.
You don't remember?
Marty
remember
rolled
your
over at like 3 days old on the bed. He totally rolled over.
Must have
3 days
been
old.
really
I was 2 years old.
tough on Mom with Dad working and she's home with all those kids. You gotta ask about that. How it was bringing them all up.
How was it raising 4 children?
He's all right. I mean, I didn't have any problem particularly.
Did you work most of the time growing while they were young or no?
No, I worked home. I was home.
Yeah.
With the kids until they were old enough to.
Until Lisa was in high school,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And Grandma went to work.
Were you hitting your 8 iron, Mom, at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think so.
No, how many hours a day did you work in the beginning?
Moved from 8 to 6.
From 8 to 6?
Yeah. But it went past 6 because you.
Had a drink afterwards.
No. You worked until
That
everybody was
sounds
going.
right.
to
Till
the
everybody
barber
left.
shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
So did you guys eat late dinners?
Well, they
Or
ate.
did you
I
not
think
eat
we
together?
ate before Grandpa got home.
Yeah. they ate.
I have a
first.
memory. The two oldest ones, when Grandma would buy Pop-Tarts and they were only 3 packages, Debbie and I would take our packages out and hide it, and Lisa and Marty had to fight over the last one. We'd also fight over concentrate cereal. What?
There's 2 in a package.
3.
Right?
I wish they
3
still made
packages
that.
of 2 each.
That
Was
sounds
it like a
familiar.
frosted
That was
flake?
the best cereal.
I don't
What was
remember
it?
that.
Concentrate.
Concentrate.
It was in this tiny little gold box
Yeah.
with a big C on it.
Yeah,
I think I remember that.
And what was it?
it
It
was,
was
a
a
good
cereal.
cereal.
Was it like grape nuts?
No,
Was it like
tiny
frosted-
little
Tiny
flakes.
flat flakes.
Really?
If you look it up on the internet, a lot of people look for that.
All I remember was Cheerios.
So growing up, you guys shared rooms and stuff, right?
Debbie and I, yeah. We used to get yelled at because we'd be in the bedroom like this at night. We'd hear, knock it off!
We're doing the weather show.
What was the weather
What was
show?
that like?
We do beauty pageants in the bed. Or we do the weather,
And that was the room next to the breezeway, right?
the pink room, yeah.
Yeah, the one with all the stuffed animals in it now.
Yeah.
Is it still have stuffed animals in it?
Yes.
It's a bed and breakfast room now.
Yeah. It's the catch-all
Did Marty and Lisa share a bedroom in the middle one?
for a while. Yeah.
Bunks. Grandpa built the bunks.
You did?
I remember, I don't know if Debbie remembers this, we went away to Girl Scout camp. What year was that, 1960 what, 4?
Oh,
Connecticut Yankee up at
no. Yankee Trails.
Yankee Trails at Stafford Springs. And Debbie and I were so freaking hungry at night. We would take our toothpaste and go out and find blueberries and put toothpaste on it.
That's disgusting.
Right?
What's more disgusting, it was Crest.
Yeah.
You would eat
They
the
made
chips-
us eat eggs in the morning, and neither of us ate eggs. And they would tell us you have to have 3 cheerful bites, and it was like,
Who didn't eat the yellow? The center?
That's me.
I thought one of you guys didn't like the yolks.
Oh,
So,
I never liked eggs.
Grandpa, were you very happy to finally have a son when Marty came along?
wait a minute,
Oh, yeah.
wait a minute, before Grandpa gets to that, I have another memory of coming back from Yankee Trails, and our bedroom was painted wisteria. Purple. Light purple.
They painted it while you were both
They
away?
painted it while we were gone.
You didn't like that?
Yeah, no, I liked it.
Oh,
I remember
okay.
coming home and having a different color room.
So were you happy to have a son finally? After 2 daughters?
Yeah, I guess. Wouldn't anybody? Whereas your grandmother and I had 3 girls and a boy, her brother had 3 boys and a girl.
All around the same ages.
And
Yeah, well,
I'm sure they weren't
they
planned,
had Bobby
planned
first.
in any way, it just
They
happened
had
that
Bobby
way.
first, and we had
Yeah,
Debbie.
he was in March, I was in April.
Then we had Lori, and they had Norman. Then we had Marty, and they had Sharon. Then we had Lisa, and they had David. And Audrey said, can we call a truce here eventually? Out of film?
Just about.
Oh.
I'm gonna pause right now.
Deb, we were gonna go on to school. Did you ever have
About?
Potty training.
No, you're talking about, you wanted to say something about the barbershop and the history of it?
Yeah, I thought it would be good for Dad to point out how that all became the barbershop, how that all. You did go into it a little bit, didn't you?
your apprenticeship?
No, the barber shop, where the barber shop was formerly a firehouse. And when they moved up to Broad Street, which is like up around the corner, and that firehouse is still there. And I tried to research the building itself. I had help from somebody that worked at the Record Journal. As far as we know, it was built in 1870, the building. And it was, it used horse-drawn fire apparatus.
Did they have, was that just the living quarters and not where they kept the
No,
wagons
they
or the
just
trucks?
kept there was room upstairs. Now, I don't know if firemen lived there or it was a type of a volunteer type thing, you know?
But I mean, there were no big garage doors on it. Did they renovate it or something?
Well, there was a big garage, there was a big door on the front,
Oh,
and there was a big door in the back, cause you remember the barber shop when it was in the back?
Yeah.
Remember that archway over the
Sinks.
sinks?
Oh, yeah.
They used to bring the horses from the Parker on High Street, which is around the corner, hook up the apparatus, and when they come back, they come through the back of the building and come through out the front door, and they drop the apparatus there.
So then it was just completely remodeled to become a barber shop later. When did you close down the front of the barber shop and then move to the back?
Oh, God.
I
Was
was-
he in the 70s?
Yeah. it
That was after
70s.
your father had stopped doing it?
Oh, no, he still worked in the back. He and I. After the third barber had left, and business was starting, because of the long hair,
You had the Beatles.
was starting to
screwed up everything.
decrease. So a friend of mine who ran by appointments, I decided to do that. And so my father and I worked in the back. And the front became an insurance. They were in the back, it kind of flip-flop office space. So.
Now when did it become your dad's? The whole building? Was that when before you
Well,
flip-flopped?
that happened probably in the early 30s.
Okay. Before you went into the service?
Oh, yeah.
When did it become yours?
Good. You have to pin me down on these dates.
No, just.
When my
Or
father
how did it
turned-
come about that it became yours?
Well, my father just turned it over to me.
Cause he stopped cutting hair at what year?
Oh, God, he still came in.
Yeah.
When I met Deb in '82, was he still cutting? He wasn't cutting hair then,
I
was he?
think he was still probably going down the shop.
Yeah, he
though.
was going, he'd spend a lot of
Go
time
down,
down
yeah.
there with me. And then he would have his own appointments set up. I would make them for
In
him.
1980, you think? Still?
He was still cutting when I was alive?
Probably. A little bit, maybe one or two.
Really?
What happened to the gumball machine?
I have it down the cellar. Still some gumballs
So
in there.
what
too.
was the
Doesn't that belong to the
what
Kiwanis?
originally when your father first started working there? What was the name of the place? What was it called?
Yeah, good question. Huber. And there was somebody else originally on there.
Mr. Huber.
No, it became Huber and Zeiser when he took my father in.
And then it just became Zeisers Barbershop.
Right. As I said.
Was it Zeiser and Son or just Zeisers?
No, just Zeisers.
There
What
was
happened to the old
there was
barber
Zick
pole?
in it.
Yeah.
We had, before we remodeled the place in when the heck was it?
60-something.
Yeah.
To
There was
gold.
an old wind-up barber pole used to be out front,
Yeah.
but it was electrified as far as the light. But it was a spring-type mechanism that how the pole revolved.
Did you have to do it like once a day or something?
Yeah, I can remember when I was a kid, Louis Trudeau, who came to work for my father and intended on staying only about 6 months. Well, he ended up staying, oh God, I don't know how many years. I replaced him. And he was in his 80s when he gave it up.
Wow.
But I can remember being in bed upstairs and hearing this thing being wound up.
Was that when you were tied to the tree?
Oh, no.
Tied to the tree. Oh, so is that over the house?
Oh,
It
this was when I was a little kid.
You had one of those first leashes.
Hmm?
You had one of the first leashes.
Children's
You see kids at
leash.
Disney with the leash. on?
Harness.
A harness.
This is what that.
My
you have
father
one.
took so much abuse, you're tying up your kid like a dog. But I had this little harness on, and there was a tree that came down in the hurricane of '38 that I was tied, and I could only go as far as the sidewalk. And my father would say, look, this East Main Street was very busy. He didn't
Where
want
was
me.
your mother?
She was upstairs. This is when I was outside playing.
This is on East
And
Main
my
Street,
little-
Meriden.
Yeah, had my little tricycle. I could go so far. If I went too far, I fell over. But my favorite thing was being out
The
there
horsey?
and no, the people coming by and I get ice
Giving
cream
them money for
cones.
You were abused.
He had ice
Let's
cream
feed the
all
little
the time.
animal over here and it's tied up. Oh,
That was why I had.
It's
There was a lot of
90s, wearing
traffic on that
leather.
road, right?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Huh?
I feel sorry for you too. Walk by, you wearing leather with a hat on in 95-degree weather. I'll give you ice cream.
No, I wasn't. It wasn't that kind of abuse. I didn't know any better.
I thought you were gonna tell a story about the time that your father got down on hands and
God.
knees.
When I was a little boy, this is a result of his being gassed in World War I. If he ate cold food, he would get stomach aches.
Really?
And I don't know how old I was, but he was upstairs and he was on his hands and knees
In pain.
and I got on his back. Thought he wanted to play horse. and then I think was it then?
Did you
Or
get
no,
bucked off?
No. When I was older, I guess, I don't know what happened. We were fooling around one day and I called him a son of a bitch. And I don't know where I ever heard it, but he said, "What did you say?" I didn't know what it meant. I probably heard it from the older kids. So I can remember as a kid, I loved to throw rocks.
Oh, I know this story.
And we were.
So did my brother.
And I did something, and my father came out and took me over his knee. Little did he know I had rocks in the back of my pocket, and he hit me, and he hurt his hand because of that.
You never could cut hair right.
So-
He was a good guy.
Well,
I mean, to work with him all my life,
yeah.
you know, if I think back here,
It was easy.
just step in, you know.
Thought you wanted to be a PE teacher.
That entered my mind, but
Wanted to be a pilot.
you got pilot here, pilot there. My father wanted me to go in the Coast Guard when I was in my teens, but didn't want to do that.
Go work down in New London or
Yeah,
Groton?
you go to school in New London.
Yeah.
That might have been the best deal, but then I wouldn't have met Graham.
No.
You guys were,
Grandma
guys-
wanted to be a dress designer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
they were in a
Didn't
German
go.
club.
No, well, hold on.
I used to help
There-
people sewing, but
Yeah.
not much.
You guys wanted to tell a story before about being tortured or something? And
Oh, let Debbie tell it.
okay. Grandma and Grandpa tortured you?
Tortured? What happened?
Bath time.
Oh.
No, I was trying to ask Debbie, now, was this because you went out at night and I had to give the kids baths? That's why I did it, or was after you gave them a bath and I went in there?
You could have done that, I don't know. but I
He
went
couldn't just
out
dry her
somewhere.
feet, he had to take the towel and go through each toe very slowly.
Oh, yes.
Sit there. No. Sit there.
Absolute torture.
That's mean.
That's from being an only child.
That's right.
Scott would go to take a bath. He wouldn't take his socks off.
I think you should sit here and talk about.
No, not yet.
No, I want to hear about the German club. All the different Germans that you knew that might have been. Wasn't there some that might have been the SS?
Oh, this
Yeah,
is
you pointed
late-
out one
this
guy
is
one time and
this
said,
is-
"See him."
later on. Who did?
You did.
Oh,
I don't remember that.
I'm trying to think who that might have been.
So
Looked like half
Meriden
the
was
people.
harboring war criminals.
Yeah,
Well,
not,
you know,
not
when
only
my-
South America.
When my father married my mother, she never became a citizen. I don't know the reason why she didn't. But when she went to apply for citizenship, the Second World War had started, and one of the guys that interviewed her said to her, "Well, how do we know you don't have guns and stuff home?" Really, because she was German. And a friend of my father's, who was the Republican, head of the Republican,
Committee party.
yeah. He found out about it. He went down and he gave this guy, holy hell. He incidentally happened to be Jewish, but then again, who knows? But
So,
my father went home, my mother, I'm sorry, went home crying about this.
Yeah.
My father told this
They were worried they
this
would.
gentleman about it, and he reamed him out for saying something like that.
So when did she become a citizen?
After the Second World War had started.
Really?
So she went back like.
I think they assumed that she marrying a citizen, you know, my father became a citizen early on.
So did she have like a green card for a long time, or how
No,
did that
no.
work?
No, she just,
You just could live here as a resident alien?
Like out?
I don't know if they had that even.
How did that work? Like, if she moved here,
She wasn't a citizen.
if she wasn't a citizen before she was married, how did that work?
Ask Al.
Well, I mean, back then.
What's SL?
Al discharges,
Al discharge.
who's lived here his whole life, was had a
yeah,
draft
yeah.
card, has paid
I
taxes.
mean, your mother had a license,
License for what?
No, she
I
never
don't know.
drove.
She
She
never
never
drove.
Never
drove.
so
drove.
she never had identification.
No, a social security card.
All right,
How
so
did she get a
passport.
social security number before being a citizen?
Yeah, you can't get a social security number without being a citizen. I don't think.
that's interesting.
So there was she was living like nobody really knew where. You know,
Well,
she wasn't a resident.
I think there was something about if you married a citizen of this country that you
Automatically became one?
automatically,
Just like now, if
I was thinking it was
if you're
under
born
that
to
assumption.
illegal Mexicans, you're born here, you're a citizen.
Not necessarily.
If you came from Mexico and married somebody, you can stay here. I know
You
that.
stay here, but I don't think you're automatically a citizen.
No,
Not a
but
citizen.
you're allowed to live here.
My father's, who was the Republican, head of the Republican,
Committee, party.
yeah. He found out about it, he went down and he gave this guy, holy hell. He incidentally happened to be Jewish, but
Talk about your house. You used to tell us about it being haunted.
Empty house, that was it.
On Maple Avenue,
Yeah,
No, Valley View Drive.
Valley View Drive.
We go, shit, we were so scared of it.
yeah, they always said it was haunted.
Haunted.
On Valley View Drive.
Well,
No,
you
this
get-
is Middletown where she lived, across from, on Chamberlain Road.
And the
where she lived.
furniture, everything was just still there, but they were gone.
Oh, this is after they died, the
Yeah.
house just
House went,
stood there.
stood there.
And
we used
Frank
to sneak
and-
up and think there was
and your
sound
grandmother
like
would sneak
sound
over
waves
there and-
Going upstairs.
She still has some stolen items from that place.
Yeah, I got a couple of
Those
things.
jugs,
Yeah, those jugs, yeah.
those clay jugs.
So what about in your house? Things you've witnessed
Valley
there
View Drive.
in Valley View Drive. Things you witnessed.
Green
Spooky
eyes.
things.
Valley View Drive.
Supposedly Debbie and I were in the bathtub when we were really little on Valley View Drive and talked about seeing a lady walk by the door,
Yeah.
an old lady, walking into Grandma and Grandpa's room.
Mhm.
What about the piano?
The
No, Lisa
piano.
said something like
Piano?
that too when she was sleeping in their
When
room.
Yes, I
The
didn't say
piano.
what that
Who's that
was.
lady that just
Cause
walked
I was,
by?
the piano was in the house,
Yeah.
and I was working, and then all of a sudden there was all
Yeah.
this shit.
Yeah.
This is
I was sitting on the couch where the picture window is in the living room, and out of the corner of my eye, seeing something in that doorway going down the hall.
Yeah.
But I just passed it off as well. I'm
Stuff in
imagining.
that.
I thought too. Something
Me?
time in the basement. Something.
Yeah.
Well, maybe your grandmother.
I know.
That's why every time we go down there, it's like,
She was never afraid of anything.
You,
And then
used,
time
you
to come
heard
up, you go,
whistling one time. You
That's-
heard somebody
that's
whistling.
when John and I were living there. I
Yeah.
came home and TV wasn't on or anything, and all of a sudden I heard some like whistling.
But she used to get so scared, because I'd be down the basement going, look, come on out, let's talk.
So
Come on.
every time I go over there
Hey.
now, the first thing I do is turn on the TV so there's
Yeah.
noise in the house.
I mean, let's put green eyes in the window now.
Well, who said
Yes,
that
sir. Ginger song.
They heard
Ginger.
Like
You heard a
heard
talking
somebody
dog?
heard footsteps following Lisa, was it?
Me.
You.
Up the
okay.
cellar steps,
Yeah.
yeah.
You heard footsteps following your sister?
I used to practice the piano, the old player piano down cellar, and I hated being down there because I felt like somebody was behind me watching me all the time. And I had to have been, what, 7, 8?
Was the player piano where it's always was, like
No,
in that
it
corner?
was up against the wall,
There's a wall.
down cellar. Go down the stairs, over to the left, it was
No,
up
she
against
means
that
the
wall.
cellar.
Yeah,
The
that's where it was. I
Then they
remember that's where it was.
Foundation wall.
And
But
so the stairs were to your back.
Yes,
That's an awkward position. Then.
Yes.
What's with the green eyes?
Yeah, what about the green eyes thing?
What's in the window? Do you
Didn't
saw
mine
that?
saw-
Grandma saw green
Grandma
eyes.
saw.
And
What's
that's
that?
Green
when
eyes.
Yeah, but what?
I have no idea.
This level? Were they
No,
6-foot level?
the
And
living
picture
room
window.
window looking at the Paulises, that's high.
The south window.
Yeah.
and the dog Ginger, Grandma
Barked
Godwin's
and
dog,
barked
barked
and
like
barked.
crazy.
Barking.
If
And
I
you saw
stand out
eyes.
there,
I
I have a
didn't.
hard
Look through the
time
window.
looking over that. The
I
window,
didn't.
so.
The dog did.
Dog
The
was
dog
barking at
said-
something.
Constant.
Were you guys around or was Grandma by herself?
No, I think,
And it took
I
off.
didn't see it, but I remember in the window, the level, you would have had to have been like 8, 9 feet tall.
So when you say eyes, was it like actual eyes or like
It was just
with
like,
little lights?
from what I remember being told, it was like green,
Green eyes.
glowing, something.
Mothman eyes.
This
So,
was at,
Mom,
this was
you
at
saw
night,
this.
That was spooky, yeah.
You
Did-
saw the eyes.
Yeah,
and this was at night. Was it dark out?
Yeah, it was dark out.
well, not quite dark all the way, but part of the way. Because we used to go sneaking in this old house, you know.
No,
It was an
we're
old
talking
house.
about Valley View Drive.
Oh, I'm talking about the,
Oh.
like this.
Mrs. Schiffer up the street had something knocked out of her hand.
Yeah, and you people used to get
Oh,
hit
that's
in the
right,
shoulder,
she was-
right?
She was
Did
drying dishes,
something
that's
go
right.
down your chimney?
That Mr. Paula saw that.
I
Yeah.
heard that
Black
story
What was
too.
it?
Smoke go down the chimney?
Mr. Paula saw something.
Down your chimney.
He was outside.
And
Put his garbage
some
out.
kind of smoke went down your chimney.
Well, there must have been like a reverse track going in there or something.
So
Could
it
have
was
been
a
Casper.
farm. It could have been,
Could
this
have
could
been
be
Casper.
poltergeist
You
situation.
weren't scared.
Did you ever
The house could be in an Indian burial ground.
Ever have-
Was that always
you
a
ever
hill?
see your parents again? You know, like ever have like a
Apparitions?
apparition
No.
of your parents or anything?
Nice, I agree.
No, I think of, you know,
Yeah.
you think of your.
When they built your house, was it always a hill?
Always like a mound.
Yeah, there was always, like a incline from Westview up. It's a natural hill.
So what was there before Grandpa set a farm?
And down on Westview, there was a slaughterhouse.
Westview?
That's what I was.
Dennis's
Really?
was a slaughter.
No, no, no.
And then over-
If you went down, Harry Maddox had a slaughterhouse. If you went down Westview, it would like back up against
The hill?
the hill that is Valley View.
How
I
far
didn't know
down?
that.
I would say,
Like where Lamas is?
no, no, not that far. No, about like where,
Champagne's lived?
maybe
Which
two
is-
pace. 2 pace or a little south of that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Why,
Used to
did you,
slaughter horses down there.
did you hear the stuff?
No,
going
no.
on? Oh, were you living
Oh,
there?
that was before
Oh.
We were living there when the,
Westview.
and Dennis's barn still slaughtered horses. Because we saw legs in a can.
Yeah.
Why did they slaughter horses?
That was the whole.
They were old and they were ready to.
They were using.
Not for like dog food or something.
They didn't slaughter. There was a guy that was
Came.
near East, Noak's meat
Yeah,
market.
that came over.
That
and
was
did.
Harry Maddox.
Okay, I remember him
The same
coming over
guy,
to
yeah.
Dennis's and shooting a horse, and Debbie and I
Very
watched through her knothole.
Aw.
Shot the horse right here. The horse fell down. The horse got up. The horse fell down. Then he came over and went.
You guys watch this?
We
Yeah,
watched it.
and I'm saying, you're lucky you didn't get killed.
We were
Why?
up. We were
We used
up.
to go to the barn to play with the bats.
Did you know this, Bob?
Yeah.
You used to
Oh,
go
you
to the
did know
barn
this?
to play with the bat.
Yeah, we played with baby bats.
Could've got rabies.
We didn't know.
Did you
We
bring
didn't
one
get
home?
rabies. We had fun in that barn.
They were cute.
They were.
You know, I'm trying to remember
I
that
had
part.
bats
What
in Belfry.
famous lady used to live behind you?
Gail King.
Oh, yeah, that was a nice view. She wasn't there too long. She used to walk around the block.
She used to chase her kids. I remember they would take off running, yeah. Down the hill.
Talk about what it was like when you started getting grandkids and your kids getting married and stuff like that.
Who was your first grandchild?
Who's your
Scotty.
favorite?
How
Well,
was it
well
for you?
before that,
How
your
was it
first
for
your
Lauren?
first kid to get married was Lori.
Yeah, your mother,
She married
Mr.
that guy.
Mr. Gary Dickens.
Handsome dude.
So
that
did
was-
you? When did you meet my father?
You'd have to,
How did you meet my father? Like, what was it? You know, how
well,
did?
your mother brought him
He
over.
was 45 minutes late for our first date.
Yeah.
Oh, you took after him?
Now,
Where the hell
see,
did
I
we
don't
go?
remember this.
Where did we go on our first date? I don't even remember.
Movies.
Oh, with Anderson?
Yeah.
No, that's right.
Well, that's better than my days, huh? When I
You
used
went
to
to
take-
Howard Caverns.
No, I used to-
But did you formally bring Dad over to meet to meet?
Yeah, yeah. My parents always said,
Oh, I know.
what he
I've
did
heard
to me in the
this.
house.
Listen
What?
what he did to me.
I would.
They-
It's
they'd
cheaper,
always-
Mom. Drop you off
I
and go
drive-
in.
mom off, your grandmother off after a date, then I'd come back to Barron and stop at Sun Valley and get fried clams.
So you eat after the date and not get food
Well,
on the
if I
date?
was hungry from all that petting, you know.
So what did you think of my father when you met him?
Oh God! Why you put me on the spot?
I want to hear this
You
one.
know, tell you the truth, there couldn't have been anything. How shall I say?
Did you have a problem with his long hair?
At your hair
No,
probably.
no,
I'm
no,
not
I
gonna cut
didn't.
this.
Once it was a
So
little
he's-
longer.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any
No,
problem.
long.
Was it the hair that was freaking you out, or was it?
You
No,
just
well,
wanted
everybody
to run
had,
his
all the
scissors
kids
through
had
it.
long hair then too, so. It was
Remember Gary on
acceptable.
that videotape? Singing like This Magic Moment or something?
I don't know, wasn't it?
That's much later.
I had to come ask you. I did
Yeah.
come ask you for her hand.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
How come I don't
In the
remember?
freaking breezeway, I was standing there talking to you.
What?
Were you serious or were you laughing and smiling?
I was very serious.
You weren't,
What?
you weren't
He
scared.
asked to
My
marry you.
intentions
Oh,
for
he did?
you. Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the time when Grandpa's relative came over from Germany and Dad and I were dating for a very short
Oh, yeah.
period of time, and Dad, being uncomfortable in certain situations, didn't know what to say to this woman, and said, in front of everybody, "Is it true," in English, "is it true Hitler's really dead?" We were all
I'm
mortified.
I'm like not realizing that this is like their first actual
Your poor sense
visit
of humor.
to America, and I had
Hitler really dead.
I felt like you had these like family get-togethers all the time,
I'm trying to think who that was.
and it really was
That
like
would've
a
been
one-time
Mariana's
thing.
daughter.
And I'm
Are
asking
were
something
you
like,
trying to be funny?
I was
or-
trying to be funny.
I guess it didn't go over.
It was like
She
silence.
was a
in the room.
dark-haired woman, she was here for a
Oh my
very short
God.
period of time.
Is it true
Didn't
it was
somebody
that
from
dead?
like the Midwest come too?
At the time, we thought it was an appropriate question to
The one
ask.
that worked
I
for
didn't
Bobby
have
Knight?
anything to talk about.
Oh, that
in
was the
Germany.
Dodingers. He was like,
It's so funny.
I don't know what.
Could that have been them?
No, this woman
Oh.
was from
In
Germany.
fact, I came across some pictures of them over at Maple Avenue, the Doningers.
Well, so when they got married, talk about when my parents got married.
It was a hot day, I know that,
Wait.
in August.
Wait a minute.
What about when Gary asked your permission to marry his daughter?
Well, I guess I said yes. See, it's not a
You
vivid
don't
memory.
remember it?
Shut that one
It's
out.
been so long ago.
I almost
What?
broke up with
Right.
Mom before
I'm
we
not talking about
I'm
you.
not- I know, but I'm laughing at this.
Well, see, you don't remember, but I don't either.
2 weeks before we got married,
Yeah.
Lori was out having lunch with Kenny Kaczynski or something.
No, Kenny from Preston Avenue?
No, Penny Kaczynski went to Southern.
Oh,
Yeah. I said,
know,
what are
he
you
played
doing
baseball.
having lunch with a guy before we get right, She says, well, I'm just a friend, just having a lunch.
Just keeping our options open.
You went to New Hampshire on a bike trip.
Yeah, I took a bike trip.
Were you mad at Dad? Is that what you're doing?
No? Well, I thought he'd get killed and
But-
I'd be left at the altar.
All right. So talk about their wedding. You said it was a hot day, and
oh, the church was
where did they get married?
St. Andrews
And
by,
didn't Grandma
Frank Moss.
make the wedding dress?
Not Frank Moss.
That was us.
Fred Curtis.
That's
oh,
right.
that's right.
Didn't
Fred, that's right. Fred,
Grandma
I'm
make
sorry.
your wedding dress?
Yep.
Yes. One word answer.
Yeah, Grandma
Nothing.
made,
Up to him.
Grandma made your
Bridesmaids' dresses, her dress, Grandma Godwin's dress, my dress.
You made them all. Nice.
How long did it
What
take
color
you?
were your bride? Your bride? I can't talk.
A
Did your
peachy
bride?
floral.
Quite a
maids wear?
while.
And they all wear big hats, didn't they?
Yeah.
That's right. I
Save
remember that.
money.
I tried to save
I had
money.
saved money.
I
to do
tried
that.
to save money.
I had a white tux.
You did, and you had frills
I had
in your
frills
chest.
in
And
my
big
tux.
white boots.
I thought,
And you had boots too, right?
I thought
You
it
had
was
like
pretty
white
cool
boots.
looking.
White boots.
And the
Everybody
guys
did
had
back
dark
then.
jackets, and I was all white. So.
My gown cost $35 to make.
John, yours was all white too, wasn't
No,
it?
his was tan.
Oh, yours was tan.
Beige.
It was like a beige.
So, all right, let's talk about them.
Well, wait a minute.
What?
Grandpa went to Massachusetts
just
to get the
thinking about
booze.
Up this,
And you had your reception at the German club.
turn
No
around.
air conditioning.
We
But-
our honeymoon was Bermuda though. That was funny.
but you know, we
I wanted their.
used the
Did you
hall.
read the couple?
No.
I don't think we paid for it all,
I think
Well,
you
you
paid
stayed in,
$50 or something like that.
Laguna-
but we had a friend
Ritzy.
of Grandma's that did catering.
Wait,
Yeah,
Yeah,
our own.
and we went to Massachusetts to buy the
liquor.
hard stuff, and I was afraid to come back
Get
on
picked up on.
91, so I took a different route, because they did pick people up,
They still do.
because of tax.
I've never heard about that in forever.
My grandparents did it once a month.
Yeah.
So we had the Turner Hall, and
Bless
Excuse me.
towards the end of the ceremony at St. Andrews, a little wind started. You could see the candles flicker, and it turned out to be a decent night. So we went. The Turner Hall was comfortable.
And Grandpa felt no pain.
No,
Me?
that was
Pictures of
19.
you.
Didn't drink.
That was August of '75.
Mhm.
So then next, Marty got married. Right?
No, Debbie. No, Marty. Yeah.
Marty was 82, and
Yeah.
Debbie and John were 83.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Well, they're here, so we'll talk about their wedding. What do you remember meeting John?
Oh, definitely.
I remember
John,
being
you
in the
wanna sit here?
backyard.
The famous vest.
Yeah, he comes around the corner of the hedge with the leather
Yeah, I was
vest
in the backyard.
and
I
a
forget what we
toothpick
were
sticking
doing.
out of his mouth.
I see him pulls up in the
The
Volkswagen
toothpick man.
and comes out and he has the vest on. You know. Hey.
Did you guys all meet him at the same time?
Yep.
It was at a picnic, yeah.
How did you meet him, Debbie?
Baseball field.
Oh, a softball game, right?
Yeah.
And tell them how you asked me to take you on the back of the motorcycle over there. Right?
Somebody else. That's some other guy at a freshman.
Same ball field?
No.
Oh.
This is like a
I
totally
thought it was
different.
John.
Oh.
She got her on the ball.
It was wind.
That was
She
Teddy.
went through the lineup.
That was Teddy. We
But
talked about him today,
But
didn't
you
we?
liked the baseball players. We ended up with a soccer guy.
Who's up for bat today?
She liked Long Island guys.
No
Ask
kidding.
her about that.
He's the third one. And they were all like 5 years younger than me, too. He probably ended up playing soccer against one of the other ones. Same year.
But the first time I ever saw you was in Middletown,
Yeah.
on that ball field in back of the pop shop.
Yeah, but was she playing? Or you playing?
She was pitching, and I was
No,
walking.
I went to a game with Michelle. To see
I'm
you.
talking way before that, before I even saw you with Michelle.
Oh, this is
Oh.
interesting.
I
Before
was,
you knew me?
She just got a permanent.
Mhm.
She's wearing a hat that was really small, so her hair was like big. And I was walking with Carl, my roommate at the time, who's chief of staff now for the state of Connecticut.
He's the one that was in the wedding.
Yeah. And I look and I go, Carl, check this out. Look at Bozo.
Oh,
And it was her,
That was
because
before you knew me?
through our discussion, you told me, and you did play softball on a team. Remember I
Yeah,
went
for
to the
the bank.
games? Yeah. And you were there with the bank. And then maybe it had to be quite a while later is when Michelle brought you to the game.
Off of Newfield Street.
Right. So every time I looked at her, every time I was up at bat, or I looked at Michelle and I was blowing kisses to Michelle or doing stupid stuff, I'm looking, going, wow, I don't know who that is. Every time I look over, she's looking somewhere else.
I didn't want him to see me looking at him.
So you didn't like
Is
her,
that the same
the
Michelle?
first impression?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a lot of
Other things,
things going on.
Yeah.
I mean.
Like
So,
what? Like the time before Norman's wedding?
We're not going to talk about
We're
that.
talking about
Ooh, is that why the tag was still on the
Probably.
jacket?
we want Grandma and
I'm
Grandpa's
coming up the
memories.
back
of-
Right,
stairs and
right,
some
we don't
chicks
wanna-
going out the
Oh,
front
so
stairs.
you guys told us this story recently.
Whatever your name is, Dottie, I think you better go.
This is Deb. You got that off, right?
No, it's not. So
That's good.
so you remember meeting John? And he had a vest on and he had a toothpick and didn't you say he did something strange with his food?
Yep.
Yeah, I always remember hearing you guys talk about what he did with his
Grandma
food.
Zeiser was horrified.
John, what are you doing? I sell on my hamburger. Real simple.
No, see, I don't remember those things.
Yeah, she'd always look at me.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
You used to do
used to
this
put
too.
What?
Poor Grandma Zeiser would be like, John, it's upside down. You went German upside down. What's the difference? Yeah.
Did you?
But I'll never forget Lon's face though when we went to what's the name of that restaurant in off Route 9 there?
Yeah, I can't think of it now.
It was down the hill.
Took you to do.
Oh, you didn't say anything?
Well, first I went up to the bar with Lon. We got a drink. And I'm trying to say to the guy, put a double in mine. Double. I'm drinking. And Deb's looking at me.
Yeah. So
and
did you?
wondering.
Yeah.
I didn't say a thing.
Did you ask him ahead of time about your intentions
Yeah, I think back at the house maybe that same week or.
before you got engaged?
Yeah, and I think Lon was just thinking about, wait a minute, Marty just got married and we're talking when? Holy crap, I don't think he was happy. It's amazing what 6 was. It was like 6 something.
Yeah, we got the place through
Yeah.
Will.
And then we did the same
Will
thing, we
and,
got the booze up to the
yeah,
mass.
Mr. Romer.
Yeah.
Scotty was your ring bearer.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah,
No,
caught the
we did
bouquet.
The Bible.
Caught the
carry.
garter.
Yeah.
And then he cried. He didn't want to put it on the
then
fat
your
lady.
friend,
We set you up, Scott. We're
Frank was
sorry.
with,
Michelle. Oh, at the wedding, Lauren.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Lauren.
Yeah, and you wouldn't let her drive home.
I think Mike Lamont, who was with you? Mike
I always
Lamont?
wanted
I
to get
Was that
Giants
when I-
tickets.
And then Carl
You
was
took
with
her down?
Lisa. And, who was with your friend there,
Karen.
Luann?
Who else was in your what?
Karen was in the wedding. Me,
Lisa.
Lisa,
Yeah.
Karen,
Lisa.
And Luann, right?
Lauren, and Luann.
How about
Oh, who
Diane
you're-
Condor?
No, Roberta wasn't in it.
Oh.
Was Marty in your wedding?
Yep.
Yeah, he was. So who was he? Was he with Luann?
It was
I think my
Marty
brother
and
Jim.
Karen?
Was he in it?
Yeah.
He has a big
Was
wedding
Jim,
parties.
Jim was with
Marty
Luann.
wasn't in mine.
Jim was with Luann.
Okay.
He was
Mike
like
was with
chalice
Lori.
bearer or something.
He was what?
He was
Carl
like
was
chalice
with,
bearer or
I think
something.
Lisa.
Why didn't you have him in your wedding?
He was young, right?
His?
Too young, I
Yeah.
thought.
You weren't in his though either.
No, I just had all my friends.
Now, we went by the Elks and it was what? What was going on there, not too long ago?
Well, they're
What is
building
it,
all
Laura?
houses around
They're
it.
building houses around it, used to be nothing around
What is it?
around it.
Are you
I
What's that?
hated your mother.
Elks, they're building all
Oh,
houses.
yeah, how about that now? They own all that land, so they must need it, right?
so young?
Otherwise, why would they sell it?
Is that what is that place?
What?
Yeah. Is it? I've been there.
Fraternal organization.
Is that where we had a party a couple years back for somebody?
In Middletown?
Oh, is it Middletown?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Middletown.
Oh, what's the place I'm thinking of in
Sacred
Meriden?
Cross.
That's down by train tracks downtown.
Oh, yeah. I
Oh,
know what
cabin
you're
restaurant?
Yeah,
That
that's
was
what I'm thinking
Grandpa's retirement.
Yeah, okay.
Hmm.
So, and then the year before Marty got married, do you remember meeting Karen? How did you meet Karen?
I need help.
I need help too.
Yeah, how did he meet her?
Remember trying to remember
Well,
everything.
she went with Eddie Giannis' son. She told me later she had a weakness for Barbara's sons. But I'm trying to remember when we first met her. It's terrible. not
She
to
meet
remember.
Marty through Rick
You need to
Leo's
have Marty
softball?
and Karen here
Yeah.
to talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
What about when?
Michelin Man.
That was a, yeah, that was a happy day.
I remember your mother.
Yeah.
Mom, I need your help.
Oh, yeah, that's a story I think about often.
Need your help for?
We went
What
over
am I supposed to do?
we went over to see
Train me.
your mother in the hospital, and of course Grandma was saying, you know, you need my help? I'm here. Oh, I don't need help, Mom. Well, was it the first night?
Probably. They were at the hospital less than an hour after you were born.
Yeah.
Were you
Great
born?
Grandma Godwin. I don't know if Grandma and Grandpa Zeiser were there. Great Grandma and Grandpa Zeiser. Debbie was there.
Did we
Were
take
you
any
born in
videos then?
Meriden?
No, Bristol.
I took
You were born
videos
in
of Chris,
Bristol?
right? Not
Yeah. What, Sarah?
I didn't know where he was born.
Bristol.
Yeah, I've been in Bristol my whole life.
He was a cone head.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
that, you know,
Came
your
out.
mother was so self-assured she could handle this, and then we get a call, Ma, I need
Didn't know what
help.
to do.
That was
Go
so.
ahead and tell
I was so happy
No.
to see you.
No, I needed your help when he was born. I didn't know what the hell to do.
Did you need help like
Yeah.
feeding or something? Like,
No,
didn't
I
know how to-
breastfed you.
That's what I'm wondering. Did
She
you?
was
Yeah, 2 or
12.
5.
See, nobody ever told her. Hey,
What?
nobody ever told her that little boys had erections.
At Woody's. You heard that on,
Is Hitler coming
Sure.
back?
Yeah.
How about
Nice,
Ben?
Dad. Thanks.
I just thought I'd try that for Scott's sake.
You never slept,
That's
Never
still
did.
Ever.
true.
Just cried or
never
what?
napped.
well, neither did you guys. You weren't,
We'd go over to Meriden with Scott when he was a baby, toddler, whatever. He'd be wide awake the whole time. 5 minutes before we got to Bristol, he'd fall asleep, and then he'd be up for 5 more hours. Why don't you talk? Why don't you sit over here?
No, I'm not gonna stay over there. I'm doing this.
What about what Grandpa used to do to you?
I don't know what he used to do to me.
What you doing over there?
Scott, let's go outside.
Yeah. Well, Grandpa would always tease us. Grandpa a lot. Stay over on weekends a lot. And we'd go swimming in the pool all the time in the summer. And then Saturday mornings, Grandma would take me, or if Chris was there, we'd go to tag sales.
Didn't she make you special
Just what you
pancakes too?
It was fun. I liked it. We get like old toys and stuff, and
What, Mickey Mouse pancakes?
and we go to
Make
church on
special
Sunday
pancakes.
morning, and yeah, I probably went to church much more with my grandparents than I ever did with my parents.
Yeah, that's because we were.
It's true.
Yeah,
We
that's
we
very
went to
true.
church for like what, a year,
Couple years.
couple years, and then stopped, and
I
then
was working
I know.
on Sundays.
I
It
know,
was
I know
tough.
there was,
And he slept late.
there was a good
most
reason.
of the time.
but then I would go with them on Sundays whenever I'd stay over.
And Grandma would make dinosaur pancakes.
Yes, Grandma would
You'd
spoil
come home and
us,
say, Mom, how come you can't make dinosaur pancakes like Grandma?
and I went up.
I used to make them for him.
oh,
I used to do that.
And I got to go get the wine and chips, right?
yeah, chips.
And you didn't get Happy Meals.
No.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That was so sad, so cruel. When we go to McDonald's, I'd say, oh dear, they ran out of Happy Meals.
You'd cry.
I remember riding around in your old green truck,
Yeah,
the old
ask
Dodge.
your mother and your aunt about taking them to school. And singing Yellow Wheel.
I used to sing a song in high school and it'd be like, don't drop me off in front. Why? What's the matter?
Yeah, we chose to walk down the long road.
Didn't want to be seen getting out of that 19 whatever it was truck.
52 Dodge truck. You went up to the Girl Scouts for that too. Did your mother take you up there?
I drove it a couple times.
Did you ever have like a real back of the truck, or was it always a wood thing?
Oh no, it had a metal body.
I don't
but
even
it
really
rotted out.
remember.
It had wooden like floorboards with the metal.
I remember you had a
I
wooden
mean-
back on it, at least towards the end.
You
Oh,
got
yeah.
wooden fence that things up too.
Yeah, yeah, because the other thing rotted out.
Sides,
Did Scott used to go over the most, or did Chris go over and Stephanie and Aaron?
Oh, I think Scott and.
Over that much.
But I didn't find out till I think when Chris was here the last time he said something about he didn't like to stay overnight or something.
Unless he was there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was homesick.
Well, who was the one we had to bring home in the snow? He didn't want to stay, so Grandma took the vote.
I think it was Graham and Debbie.
Yeah, I think it
And
was.
the
Yeah.
car died on
By
Bird Street.
ESPN?
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
You made them go home in a snowstorm.
and you forgot Mickey
How old was I?
in a car seat. You were young.
And then Mom had to make a special trip?
Oh, I don't know.
Where's the car died? What happened?
I don't remember.
Car died on Bird Street. I don't know.
Right by the White Birch Inn, you said, right? Which is now a parking lot where I park at work.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I don't park when I work in that building. I'll park there.
I was talking to somebody that day, one day about ESPN, how we used to, the old way to go up there was off of 84, we got on West Street and then take Birch Street and went down into Bristol, or not Bristol,
To Forestville.
yeah, Forestville.
You can't drive Birch Street.
No,
anymore.
I'd have to go up to underneath the railroad tracks and cut over from there, wouldn't
Yeah.
I, to get to the house? Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to talk about? Any stories of anything? Oh, I know. You can talk about the Cape. We're up here at the Cape. This is, I did the math. This was our 17th year we spent at the Cape.
Really? 17th?
Yeah. If we started in '93, this is the 17th year we've all come up here. I thought that was pretty impressive. And now I just want to say thank you for all the times having us up here.
You don't have to thank us this year.
Thank everybody else this year, but I think
Debbie,
16
your
years is pretty good.
Yep.
We're sponging now.
You have any good memories from being up here at the Cape?
Oh yeah. Grandma loves the boogie board, although we haven't done it this year. Because now I need help getting out of the pond down there.
When it's high tide.
Yeah. It's, you know, the knees.
Yeah, but you guys, you boogied, you know, for
We
many,
always
many
get
years.
in the water.
Well, wait a minute. One year I took off because I had broken my ribs.
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2
Your
years
hips
ago.
1 year.
But I remember all the years that you guys went in the water first,
Yeah.
and you would start us off with the boogie. They'd go in the water
Yeah,
first.
that's. Grandma used to like, well,
Who started doing it first?
What? Grandma used to
the
what?
boogie board.
Yeah.
We probably saw
Well, just
everybody
one of
else do it.
Yeah.
Well, see, I remember like the first time I did anything like that, I went down in 1988 with Dad and Mom down to Virginia Beach, and we just body surfed.
I used to body surf.
We just
as a
body
kid.
surfed, and like,
Yeah, we used to do that in Rhode Island.
and then when we first started coming up here, everybody started boogie boarding, but I don't remember how we started.
Well,
doing it.
Grandma and Grandpa brought you guys to Nauset.
No, I got my first boogie board with you at Caldor.
Alright.
Were you the first one to get a boogie board, Scott?
I might have been.
You got the one down at Nauset Sports, that green,
Chris
that
did.
line. Oh,
That was
No, that was mine. That was the original one
yeah,
that I got
yeah,
at
that's what I
Caldor.
mean. The line.
Did we
Yeah,
used
Chris,
to use the
Chris
ones
got
here?
the hard bottom one
Yeah,
first.
yeah, he should have left that here.
No, we bought them the same year.
Where is that hard bottom?
California.
Is it?
He took it with him?
Mhm.
Does he ever use it out there?
No. Told him he should have left it. I like that board.
my board has pimples.
So what about some good stories from up here at the Cape?
How about who walked through the screen door?
It was me, right?
Several times.
Yeah.
How about the triangle
And
outside?
then me and Al had to go down to Snow's. Buy
Oh, was it
some
Snows where you
Snows.
went, or the? Oh, I thought it was the hardware store going towards.
No, I went to
Chatham.
Snow's, and then we redid that whole screen.
Mhm.
Screen.
Oh, I can remember having them repairing bikes.
Yeah.
Oh, there's flat tires and
Doug
stuff?
and Doug and
Doug, he was the worst bike
chains.
killer.
Yeah, and then who else?
Rob.
Rob.
I remember one time Rob and I were riding, and Chris, we were riding up to the Coast Guard Beach, and Rob, I don't remember the order of things happened, but on that same trip, he fell off the bike and hurt himself. He might have knocked the chain off or something, but he also got bit by a dog. He was
That was
attacked
in the
by a
dark,
dog,
right?
and it was dark, yeah. We were trying to ride home. Well, I don't know if he was really bit.
Dog scared him, and that's. something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What about fixing up the pool?
You mean,
Over the years, taking care of the pool.
oh, this year?
Yeah,
Well, I think
That's
it's
a good thing.
just in the
Recent.
recent few years.
yeah.
Recent years we've had.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that to Art. I says, it's nothing like it was last year. He said, oh, that was a disaster. So.
Yeah.
You guys take better care of it than
Well, your father
Anyway.
does most of it now.
I think we all.
Because I'm retired.
Everybody does their little bit.
But Marty found a skunk in the pool one year. We weren't here, but it
Mhm.
stunk when we got up here.
I think we found a lot of frogs.
Mice.
Marty made it a point to wake me up the second skunk. Said it's your turn.
Really?
There was a baby one in the.
Because he dealt with it the first time,
Uh-huh.
and then, but I'll tell you, I never, if you didn't breathe through your mouth, oh, it was bad. Really bad.
No, not that.
Here.
Do we need a break?
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
pee-pee.
You can tell about sitting out and watching the stars and seeing the bats flying over the pool.
Not
Well, how
seeing 'em, you
about-
sense 'em.
Oh,
How about the spaceship that flew over
That's what I
here
said,
one
the
night?
triangle.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
I saw
didn't
it.
see that either.
I didn't either. I was in here. So the lights went out supposedly in the whole
Yep.
house.
Why don't I remember that?
And the freaking
You were sitting here,
three.
we saw 3 lights and it was like, what the, Doug or
It was
you?
3 lights in a perfect triangle, 3
Triangle.
little dots. Like we were watching for satellites and shooting stars,
Mhm.
and they were like, if it was satellites maybe, but it was 3 perfectly
Slow.
spaced triangle dots moving slowly, towards the point of the triangle forward across the sky. I don't think you could see through them.
Yeah.
I
don't
think
remember
it
seeing
was
anything.
really black,
We
so
were scared.
maybe it was too tough to tell. But yeah, at the same time that went over, power went out here.
And you could hear dogs barking and all of a sudden all the lights and you were in here and went, what the hell happened? And we're like, what the hell is that?
It's like a scene out of Close Encounters.
Yeah.
Like,
But it was a fuse.
but it wasn't. It was small. It wasn't big. It was pretty far up.
No, I don't think the whole
I don't
street went
remember
out.
the lights going out.
I remember the lights,
The lights
going
went
out,
And then coming back on.
coming back on, yeah.
Hmm.
And hearing a dog
A
barking.
glitch.
Oh, it was a glitch.
I remember, many times laying out there watching for satellites and shooting stars, and we do that every year.
Oh yeah, that was always interesting.
Well, we used to do that when you kids were little.
Yeah.
With the Ludens, we'd lay out in the backyard or on the picnic table and
Yeah.
have blankets and just watch.
We used to be up here closer to the Percy meteor showers too.
I used to like just sitting on the deck watching with the lights on the pool, where the bats would come down. And they'd kiss the water and going for bugs. That was pretty cool.
Oh, by the way, what was the night that Jeff Fox said you gotta watch for the space shuttle going over the first time? And I tell you, was it bright?
Really?
The second time, he said it was gonna come from the northwest, and it was gonna be not that low on the horizon, and go to the northeast, and you would southeast, and you would
This is big.
lose it. It would be out of the reflection from the sun, but it lasted longer than I thought. And boy, was it bright. But the second time it happened, it was lower on the horizon, and it just wasn't as spectacular as it was that first time.
Got him.
Goodbye.
2 outs,
It's 5-4.
Final.
3 outs.
The Red Sox win.
You know what? Wakefield doesn't get the win because I think they tied it up. I think it's
clear.
they had to go ahead with the 5.
Jesus.
All right, should we end this?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
You guys say it now. Okay, Dad wants to tell us about the first time he saw my mother.
Oh, it was only
They
that
must have put him in.
You were riding in a
me and
what?
my buddy
Over
were
here,
cruising
right?
Bristol, and we were stopping in this parking lot where friends of ours
Oh,
were hanging
In
out.
his sports car?
And we're in this 240Z. It's a lime green 240Z. I'm in the passenger. It's only 2-seater. And I look over and I see this chick hanging out with this friend of mine from high school. And she's got her arms around his neck, looking up at him, making like eyes at him, And I'm like, who's this chick, right?
You
So
listening?
then
Mike?
she then leaves him and walks over to Serge, my buddy, and says,
I hope you stop this.
No.
and says, can I have a ride? And I'm like, I wasn't even in the passenger seat. So I just at that point said, what, don't you see me here?
You get out.
Huh? Don't you see, I'm not getting out of the car. Why? To let her get in?
So what happened?
We drove off. He said, nah, sorry, well,
It's
But
very
at that
forward of
point,
Mom.
I didn't know who she was or anything. She was just over visiting, I guess,
In Bristol.
Bristol. But it was funny. Then I met her at Dial Tone with Jimmy.
Dial tone?
Come on, put
That's
that.
a dial tone.
Dial Tone.
Is that a bar?
It was a bar.
And you had phones at the
You don't need
tables?
to put that.
You can call the other tables?
Yeah.
You did?
It was really cool because
That's like Rubicani's in Florida, it was the same
you
thing.
would we went
You
to
could
this
sit at a
place in
table and
Southington.
call women and go, hi there, I'm sitting at table.
Just
Yeah.
look. That's why you have this.
So ends up we didn't meet each other doing any phone calls. It was mutual friend. My friend Kelly, his cousin Jimmy, and Jimmy had a girlfriend Shirley. Shirley brought Lori as a friend. So we ended up just sort of meeting and dancing on the dancing floor. And
Disco?
The first song that we ever danced to was Benny and the Jets.
Really?
Yeah. So it was always, our little thing was Benny and the Jets always.
So you're getting your picture taken pulling down your pants.
But,
What is that?
The moth.
Oh,
but, you know.
That's why you had.
So we
That's why you had the 8-track of
I don't think
Yellow
we
Brick
only-
Road.
I think we dated for 6 months before then we finally decided we wanted to get married.
I used to love listening, laying on your bed, listening to that 8-track. It was Yellow Brick Road. It was Elton John. I'd use those big headphones and lay in your bed with your hi-fi stereo and listen to it. And I used to actually have those headphones hooked up to my computer right now. I use them when I sit on my computer.
Really?
Yep.
My Panasonic ones?
Your big stereo
yeah,
monitors.
you got a pair of those.
I bought
The
a
real big ones.
I got a
They're the same kind.
And they
Yeah.
still work.
Yeah, they work great.
Yeah.
when I bought my first almost new car. I had my
The Camaro.
Camaro, yeah.
Oh.
Lori and I was like really feeling proud of myself, you know. So I thought, you know, this isn't gonna work. I got a new car. I just got this steady girlfriend. I tried to break off with her, right? In the car. We argued in front of a friend of mine's house. They had a party going on.
Oh, you
We
and
never
Lori?
made it to the party. We sat in front of his house.
You tried to break it off with
I
her?
tried to break it off with Lori because I had this new car and I thought I was hot shit with this car and I'm gonna be able to date all these cool chicks and stuff, right? So I couldn't. She's crying like unbelievable in the car, crying, and I'm like, so I didn't break up with her. So, and then, you know what? It was funny because here I am. You know, I asked her to marry me eventually.
In the same car?
No, not the same day. You know, down
No, I
the
said
road.
in the
In
same
the
car.
car?
No.
I thought it was.
Maybe it was.
Wow. And then you sold that car to Marty.
Yeah, I kept it in the family. Like I sold my motorcycle to Marty too. But anyways, it was interesting because when we got married, right? Lori's walking down the aisle. I'm standing up there like hot shit. This chick really loves me. She wants to marry me. She's coming down the aisle and she's crying.
Yeah, do you remember that?
I'm like, what the hell is she crying for?
Yeah. What? Do you remember Marty?
Did she ever tell you?
Yeah, she was
happy?
saying she has second thoughts. That's what she tells me. I was having second thoughts. I didn't know if I wanted to get married. So it was weird.
Mother probably knew I didn't.
That's what she says to me.
Marty was the one
And
who
I
told
don't-
her that.
He
Well,
laughed his ass
I was
off.
like,
Yeah.
Do you know I was in
like-
the church with just before I walked out?
Yeah.
Frank says to me, John, and I knew that he was trying to tell me, you could still run out the door.
Well, you know, I had second thoughts because of her having that date with the guy at lunch. I said, wait a minute, no, this ain't gonna work, you know. It was very.
So you guys got married
It
pretty
was touch
relatively
and go.
quick after starting dating.
Yeah, we did. We did.
I mean, both of you.
Mhm.
It took Sarah and I, what, 6 years to get married, I think?
So if we didn't go to college and meet our
I know.
girl in college and have to wait to get through school and stuff like that.
No, it took us more than 6 years, what am I thinking?
So Lori was going to college when she met me.
It took us 8 years to get married.
Really?
6 years to get engaged, 8 years to get married. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the recording unless you guys have any other cool
No,
stories.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
John's got a story.
He's got one he's going to tell us.